Hi, this is Peter Godinez, your ambassador with KDTV, with another version of Good Morning Oxnard, and something we haven't done in a while. In fact, I missed you, George.
2 weeks.
Look
It's
like
2 weeks. I'm having withdrawal symptoms. Withdrawal symptoms.
I love it. You look like you dropped about 10. You're tan. You're ready to train for the Olympics.
That's from kayaking.
You know what? I tell you what, because it's interesting. You have to be in shape because I understand you just got through interviewing Gmo Citizens, a world champion boxer. Professional.
He went pro in high school, I understand.
Now, good, because I heard you did it, because when they get the big names, they bring in the big guns.
Well,
for
actually,
you,
I was pressed into service because you were late.
Okay, that's the truth be told. But we have a lot of catching up to do. But first of all, happy holidays to all the people out there. Last night was the beginning of Hanukkah, so everybody who celebrates that, happy celebration. So with that, lots of holiday spirit out there, but we got some things to going. So action, you're on.
We do. A lot of events have happened since we last saw you, since it's been 2 weeks since the last show. But the annual Christmas tree lighting was attended by over 1,000 people.
1,000.
Mayor Flynn flipped the switch, and Santa Claus came out on the stage and things like that. The very next day was probably the largest parade, possibly in the history of Ventura County. Would that be a fair assessment? Over 100 floats. I lost count at 5,000 people just in the first couple of blocks. It was mobbed, but it was a wonderful family event. I saw hundreds of families there, entire families showing up and their friends. I estimate there were 2,500 people just marching in the parade.
That many?
With 100 floats.
Gosh.
Some of the groups were about 100 people, some were only 2 or 3, and we had all our local dignitaries were there. I saw every single city councilman either in a car or standing on the street. I saw Supervisor Zaragoza showed up as well.
Lots of celebs.
Julia Brownlee had her own float.
Oh my goodness!
Walked down the street along with Jackie Irwin, the recent victor of the assembly race, was there too. So everyone showed up.
That's some power. Now, our KDTV crew has spotted Mrs. Claus at some of the things. Did Mr. Claus actually bring late friend to any of these events? Because I actually seen Mr. Claus.
I did not personally witness that, so I can't testify.
Okay, well, just
let
let
you
you know.
Claus, I'm not sure what
Mr. and Mrs.
Sitting
Claus.
in a sleigh.
That's Claus.
Over the...
Well, that's great news. So
right.
What else we got?
Well, the other big thing, Christmas Tree Lane, which is an Oxnard institution, started on the 14th. It's every night as soon as it gets dark until 10 or 11 o'clock. It starts 5th Street by F and G Streets. That entire area has huge participation of people that do their own decorations with their own money privately. It's really quite a
That's
spectacle.
a big event in Oxnard.
Yeah, a lot of people go and walk that, and then they go downtown and have some hot chocolate or something like that when they're done.
That's exciting.
A nice ritual. We'll be doing that.
I've been to a few, and it's a nice thing. So hopefully there's some good weather.
Even when I was living in eastern Ventura County, we used to drive out to see the exhibit.
Exciting,
Right.
exciting.
Okay, on to more serious matters. We've talked, I think, 3 times on this show about the big struggle going on about the power plant successor. Now, Oxnard is almost unique in that it has over 2,000 megawatts of electricity produced right in Oxnard. Unfortunately, those are both coastal power plants right on the beach, and they're both over a half a century old. They're both slated for replacement. They're both going to be legally obsolete in 2020 when the new environmental rules go into effect. So what's happened is that Southern California Edison did an analysis over the last couple of years to figure out what future power needs would be, both to replace existing power plants and to also adapt for the new alternative power systems going into effect. Some of you may know that by 2020 it will be a law that 1/3 of all electric power generated in California will have to come from so-called renewable sources, non-polluting sources, which might be solar and wind. So what that means is there'll be less baseload power required from fossil generation, but there'll still be some. One of the problems with solar is it doesn't run that well at night.
Yeah, I think their formula is
right.
kind of obvious on that.
They have to have what's called baseline power, which is basically old-fashioned gas power generators. We don't have coal anymore, and oil's been obsolete for years. When it hit $4 or $5 a gallon, it just wasn't cost-effective to do it anymore. So what happened is that SCE contracted with NRG, who's the current producer of power in the city, and they submitted the winning bid for the local power grid replacement. And their winning bid was site-specific. It's the Mandalay Beach Power Station, which now has a single power plant of 560 megawatts and a small 49 megawatt what they call a peaker plant, which uses a gas turbine, which is a lot like a jet engine on an airline.
Sounds very scientific.
It is very scientific. Basically, what's the advantage of those peaker plants is that a turbine can come up to speed in less than 18 minutes, where it takes 18 to 24 hours now to start up and shut down the existing plant.
Interesting.
Which means they can't respond well to peak load situations, especially in the hot summer, or outages. So this would replace that. The problem is that the city council is dead set against that. They don't want any more power plants in town because they think that it hurts aesthetics and it's dirty and not fashionable and that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
So they actually voted a moratorium on new power plant construction until they could change their specific plan to prohibit that.
Right.
Now the problem is that the legalities don't work that way. The state could actually overrule them and decide to put a plant there. And the legislators in their infinite wisdom decided that should be so because most cities, given the option, would not want a plant in their city. It's kind of not my backyard approach.
Right.
So for the quote, the greater good, the state will make the decision ultimately on this. So
That's
all kinds of
interesting.
forces are lining up right now. I've been through 5 or 6 different meetings where they discussed this and debated it, where everyone from the Sierra Club to NRG was out there. Here's the problem. Last night at the city council meeting, they debated all this, but they failed to put in the agenda the possibility of sending a protest letter, which is legally required if they want to stop it, by December 31st. So they found out that they will have to have another special city council meeting next Tuesday in order to authorize sending that letter by the 12/31 deadline to protest the decision by...
Interesting detail.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on. So I'm sure everyone will be out in force next Tuesday. Okay? Another big thing that happened last weekend is the annual Santa to the Sea half marathon, 5K, and diaper run or something like that.
I gotta say, George, last time I saw Santa Claus, looked like he had dropped some pounds, a little darker like you. Looked like he was training for this Santa to the Sea. So I'm interested in how this Santa to the Sea.
Well, Santa
actually
Claus
went.
is actually Ron Barber, who, believe it or not, is a retired iron worker who bought the old Santa Claus that you might have seen up on Santa Claus Lane in
Yes.
Carpinteria, brought it down here to Nyland Acres and plopped it down the freeway.
Right there
It's
for
now
everyone to
become a
see.
local landmark. So somehow he came up with the idea of running a race from Santa to the sea down in my neighborhood. Well, a half marathon, which threads around through town, 12.1 miles, that's a half marathon, goes through town, industrial district, downtown, and ends up right on Harbor Boulevard down by Seafresh, and that's where the finish line is. So they had that thing, and KADY made some excellent videos of this
I
thing.
saw them.
I could tell you the whole saga of how that got done, but I won't. Instead, I direct you to go to Citizens Journal or to KADYTV.com and watch the videos yourself.
I watched them
Bob Allen and his crew from Oxnard High School right here filmed that entire event. They have the start, they have portions of the course, they have the finish line, they have interviews of all the major finishers, they have interviews of some of the major sponsors, and the race director, Ron Barber, all online at citizensjournal.us or KADY.com. So go see it, folks.
I got to say, Marianne Rooney actually was one of
She
our
did the
stars.
interviews,
Did a lot of interviews, and I'm an old fan of hers. So definitely check it out. Some beautiful content.
I thought so too. Now keep in mind that one of the purposes of Santa to the Sea is to raise money for kids.
Let's not forget that.
collect toys as well. Is it too late to contribute?
Absolutely not. It's one of the neatest things when they bring all the toys out to Santa Claus where it is, and all the kids will come. I think it's a week from this Saturday.
Yeah, for more information, go to santabythesea.com.
To the sea.
To the sea.
I'll send it to the sea.com. That would get you in trouble.
That was not Moses speaking. That was Bob Allen,
That
the
was Bob
powerful
Allen, that
voice.
voice comes in.
So I just want to make sure that we know it's that. Exciting time. So Santa to the Sea. You also mentioned the diaper crawl. I hate to say there were injuries of rash, but that would be
that's
inappropriate. But okay.
That
But
was
anyway,
terrible.
all right, that's bad. But
I
keep
hope
on
we
going.
edit that out.
No, that's good stuff. So anyway, how did that go? I heard there were some potential winners and
I
ultimates from
did not
that.
actually witness the event, but if you go on to our coverage and look at the videos, you can see it for yourself.
It was the most spectacular thing you ever want to watch, and the winning baby's name is Pickles.
Pickles.
And they did an
My
interview.
goodness.
It was beautiful just
Yeah.
watching
Did
the
that
kids.
person come with endorsements from companies? Do you know? 'Cause,
I just-
I got a granddaughter. No, just kidding. Sound like a fun
Yeah.
event.
Hey, one really interesting thing, this was not just a fun run. The half marathon winning time was 1 hour and 5 minutes. I have run half marathons myself. I've never done better than 1 hour and 15 minutes. 1 hour and 5 minutes, you can't even see the finisher.
And how far? It's how
It's
long?
12.1 miles.
Okay.
What's good about a half marathon, as I found out, is it's long enough to really give you a workout, but it's not so bad that you can't go to work the next day without a lot of pain. Marathon's a different story for me. I usually miss the next day. When
And it's like that. I did it in 12 minutes, but I did it in a car. So that's
Well, okay. Maybe I'll try that next
The
time.
young lady who won, Emily Gordon, and there's a nice interview that Marianne Rooney did with her, is part of Team USA Minnesota, which is all of the up-and-coming Olympian potentials. And she had to leave rather quickly that day. She had final the next day. She's at
Wow.
UCLA.
She's no slow
That's-
boat either. She did
no,
that in an
it's-
hour and 17 minutes.
Exactly.
Not too many women
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's incredible. But you know, it is on our website. Check it out.
Check it out. What else happened? Well, we have an organization called CERT in Oxnard. That's Citizens Emergency Response Team. And that supplements the police department and the fire department in the event of emergency. So as they explained to us at the city council meeting last night, if there's a major earthquake, fire, or flood, the 200-person police department and the 100-something fire department will be overwhelmed quickly. So we really have to rely upon the citizens to provide the first response. So the average citizen has no idea how to respond to such a disaster.
Interesting.
However, there are national standards of training for citizens response teams. Now the problem is this program has been moribund in Oxnard for years. It's been nowhere. But Fire Chief Williams managed to go out and recruit a real spark plug, Susan, to run the CERT effort. And they graduated 50 people this year who were honored last night. But Mayor Flynn pointed out that 50 is just a drop in the bucket for a city of 200,000 people. He envisions hundreds of people being trained. Now, the next training sessions start in January, and if you go to citizensjournal.us, you'll see a brand new article that Susan and I put together and released just today. It'll tell you how to sign up for classes in English or Spanish starting January and given in successive months next year. So
It's a real great
I strongly
resource.
recommend that. My wife actually signed me up. She's been a CERT leader for years, back when we lived in Agoura and in Oak Park, and now she's got me signed up for Oxnard too.
Wow, she does it all for you.
She does it. Without my wife, I'd be
Your
totally.
personal trainer and your kayak coach and the whole thing.
Well, she's also a first grade teacher too, so
So
that
my-
prepares her to handle me.
She's powerful.
She's very powerful. Okay, what else happened? It's unfortunate that Oxnard experienced its 10th murder this year. That puts us up higher than the national average right now for murders. Still not as bad as Chicago or Washington, D.C., but it's pretty bad. And one of the things most directly contributed to that is gang activity. And since 2005, Oxnard's had a pretty aggressive response to gangs, and the gang injunction procedure is part of that. Basically what they do is they look for people that fit the gang profile that have committed crimes, and they prohibit them from doing certain things in the gang injunction areas. Now, it turns out there are an estimated 1,700 gang members in Oxnard, which is as much as the rest of Ventura County combined. So what happened is we don't have enough police and enough prosecutorial power to handle all those cases. So we have contracted with the Ventura County DA's office for an extra attorney just to handle nothing but that, and we're paying half that person's salary. So that was agreed to last night by the city council to continue that program.
I think that's really good. I think one of the things we hope with KDY-TV and with Citizen Journal US is just the mentoring. I mean, these gang leaders hopefully will be business leaders one of these days. Now, that's a dream, but hey, it's possible.
Well, some
Or
people
just-
think business leaders are already getting married.
You know what, that goes without saying, as I hate to
training,
say
right?
that, but it's important that we report everything, but just the way we are looking,
Absolutely.
that's what we hear it
All
for.
right. Some other interesting news. Oxnard's trying to stay on the forefront of technology in libraries as well as other areas.
Interesting.
This year, two major things happened. First of all, we got a contract for online books, similar to a Kindle, where people can now get
I
books
love it.
electronically. We have a 5-year contract to do that. that Mrs. Murray, the librarian, put together. Now she has a second program. We have an ancient, outdated, integrated library management system right now to manage all aspects of the library, from books and checkouts and where the books are and acquisitions and different members and things like that. They're replacing that system, and last night they approved an approximately $400,000 contract to replace the existing library management system, which expires in June of next year. So Mrs. Murray was telling me if it wasn't approved last night, she would not have been able to get the new system in place by that. And she freely admits, she says, I'm a public library expert, I'm not a technical expert. So she hired consultants to help her with the process of evaluation and selection and upcoming implementation of the system. So that's under control.
It's good to see that people have a choice between actually holding a physical book or having it on an e-book. So I'm glad that Oxnard is really...
E-book is the way to go. For the same reason we do an online newspaper, it makes more sense to have online books. No one in his right mind would start a newspaper that's hard copy anymore. And in 5 years from now, I would think the majority of books read will be online.
You heard it straight from the prophet, George Miller. So
really?
What other exciting things do we have?
Well, just a couple more things. We have underway right now a program to try to streamline the permitting processes, especially businesses to start up, expand, and make improvements. We have had more complaints about that process than almost any other aspect of the city. And people say that Oxnard is the least business-friendly city in the area. People talk about horror stories of having up to 5 visits just to find out what they have to do to open up a business. So Oxnard commissioned a study to solve that problem, which is being done by Rincon Consultants. It was supposed to have been discussed 3 weeks ago at a city council meeting. In fact, I actually discussed it here because I got the report. And the same day that Tim Flynn spoke at Good Morning Oxnard, he told me that they were not able to discuss that at the meeting because he didn't think the program was far enough along to deserve a public discussion yet. So he basically sent it back to school. It seems there's a parallel effort going on right now by recent city council candidate Aaron Starr, who's the controller of Haas. He's doing his own program to streamline.
Glad to hear that he's in the game still.
Right. He's put together a program that has quite a few local business luminaries and civic luminaries working on it.
Wow.
And they are meeting tomorrow night, tomorrow evening to discuss that, to evaluate where they are so far, where they're going. And I've advised Aaron to contact the Rincon people to try to combine those efforts. So several different parties are working on trying to improve that thing.
That is incredible.
A hold up right now. Last week at the city council meeting, there was an innocuous item on the agenda that said that they've applied for the right to rewrite the Pacific Plan for Las Cortes public housing project. It's a 61-year-old project that's very dilapidated, falling apart. Parts have already been closed or under demolishment. And if you recall, there was a big controversy over how to get the existing residents out of there and house them while the new thing was being built. When they applied for that position, it was approved, to write the new Pacific Plan. But the interesting thing is there were 5 public speakers on that topic, and not one of them disputed the plan, but a lot of them had a lot to say about the public housing program in general, why they weren't happy with the program. And basically, to summarize what they said, we are upset that there are in some cases 3 generations of people living in public housing. We wonder what the incentives are to make people self-sufficient. Instead of focusing on housing people that don't have the means, why don't we focus on getting people jobs, helping them to acquire the skills that they need to move ahead. And the city council was surprisingly receptive to that, and City Councilwoman Padilla even mentioned that there's a provision for using HUD grants for things other than housing, but also using them to help improve the skills of breadwinners to become more self-sufficient in the future. So we actually asked the City Council to reconsider the policy and the objectives for public housing to focus more on eliminating the need for public housing rather than providing it. So I thought that was kind of interesting because the public actually switched the nature of the debate, and the City Council responded very favorably to that. And we cover about 6 different cities right now, City Council meetings in places like Moore Park, Simi, Thousand Oaks, Fort Hueneme, and Oxnard. Oxnard by far has the most open debate and transparency of what's going on in the city of anybody. That wasn't true 5 years ago.
Sure.
But it is now. Now, the downside is sometimes these meetings run a hell of a lot longer because they listen to every possible speaker. I've been there on some nights where over 50 speakers spoke on one topic, power plant.
How long
And-
do you usually go till?
Well, no,
Midnight?
they've been running only about 4.5 hours.
Okay.
I can remember meetings going to like 2 o'clock in the morning. last
And that's
year.
actually, the next morning,
Yeah,
yeah. it's
that
like-
became a campaign issue. Brian McDonald made that one of his big issues.
That
He
was.
criticized Tim Flynn, said these meetings go way too long, they're undisciplined, blah, blah, blah. And Tim listened, and he did a lot of things to try to reduce the meeting time, and he has done that while still maintaining the transparency.
Good
So-
job, Brian.
Those are the main things I want to talk about today. Do you have any other questions or things I should have talked about?
No, I think you covered it all. And, I just hope, just real quickly in summarizing this, that our audience gets a chance to see Oxnard, the community of Oxnard, how the pieces are coming together. And I think between what you do in the journal and what we cover, hopefully they see that in the content we provide. So not to be Pollyannish, but there's some good things coming up, and
There are a lot of good things. Even bad things can be turned into good things.
I believe so.
One of the best examples of that was the unfortunate killing of Alfonso Limon, which has brought about a number of major reforms. You haven't seen the last
Exactly.
one yet. Looking into the police, looking into how things happen and all that. And I think it was actually a positive experience.
No, I agree.
And the
you know
Limon
what?
family helped in that because some of the things they demanded in their settlement were making improvements.
What I heard you say is the fact that the public is stepping up, they're educated, and they're keeping people accountable. Would you agree?
Well, they are, but we have 200,000 people in the city and
200,000.
about 40 show up at the average meeting.
Well, hopefully 200,000 don't show up.
And
But
the rest of them will watch Good Morning Oxnard.
there you go. And sometimes substituted by George Miller when I'm late. But with that, this is Peter Godinez, KDTV with George Miller of Citizens Journal US. Check it out. Until next time.